Father, there is one that is righteous. Lord, and as we are gathered here, we ask for truth. We ask for righteousness. Father, and it is found in one Jesus Christ. Father, as we open these words, we ask for a blessing. Fill our hearts. Fill our minds. Lord, we lean upon you. We want you as our foundation. In Jesus' name, amen. I want you to turn with me to Revelation chapter 14. You know, in Revelation chapter 14, we have a message for the world. It is not our message, it's God's message. Now, it says there in Revelation chapter 14 and verse 6, we're going to move quickly. It says, "And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth." Now that word angel may be confusing to some. The word there is messenger. Now a messenger needs a message, or else he's a man without a mission. Now, this is the three angels' message that we're very familiar with, and if not, I pray that you ask somebody what this three angels' message is. Or, today we're focusing on the third angel's message. So let's read Revelation 14 and verse 9 and 10 so we can gather how important this message is, not only for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, not only for Christianity, but for the earth and the inhabitants of the world. In Revelation 14, verse 9, we read, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God." Now, would you say that this is important for us to understand? Not only us, but who? The earth. The inhabitants of the world. Now, if it's important for people to understand, then I would say that this is the devil's most important mission to deceive us upon. And so, let's look at this here. Third angel's message. It says there's a mark. And oftentimes we focus on the mark. We talk about the mark. But that's a third of the issue. Let's look at verse 9. It says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image." There's the two other components to this message. It's about two authorities and one mark. So are we just to wait upon the mark? Let's look at Revelation 13, verse 16. Here's the mark. It says in Revelation 13, verse 16, "And he," well, that is the image, "causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." Now, it's true if you don't understand what the mark is, you may receive that mark. But shouldn't we understand who the image is? Because when the mark comes, it's far too late to give the warning about the beast and its image. Verse 17 says, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he that have a mark." If they don't know who that image is, and we don't know who the image is, if we don't know who the beast is, the mark is already here, and we will not buy or sell. I would say that we need to understand this long before the mark is implemented. Now, this happens after Revelation 14 and 15. It's the creation of the image that produces the mark. Let's read. Revelation 13, verse 14. And deceiveth them. Context is the image. Or the second beast, I'm sorry. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And so first we must understand the dangers of the image. Is there danger in this image? It's going to enforce the mark. And so the deception here in Revelation 13 is in the creation of the image. And so we need to understand how this image is going to come to fruition. But we need to understand what is the image. We can see it in Revelation 14, verse 9. Let's go back there. It says there, we'll read it again. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image. And so the image is an image of the beast, the first beast. Now a man sits up in front of a mirror and he looks into the mirror. What does he see? His image. He better see his image, or else the mirror is broken. And so if he doesn't see his image, then it's not his image. Or if he sees some other, if I see a woman, that's not my image. And so the image looks just like the beast before him. The beast out of the sea. We see in Revelation 13, verse 1 and onward. We don't need to read that. We know who that beast is. It's a church-state conglomeration. The beast that comes up out of the sea, that anti-Christian power that puts himself in the place of Jesus Christ and says to all the earth that all salvation is through him and not Jesus. So, church and state is the image that is going to be produced. Now, the question is this almost complete? Is it started completion? Because an image takes time to build. Now, the beast had a deadly wound. Let's look in Revelation 13 and verse 12. Who can tell me when that wound happened? What date did that happen? 1798. We know what happened there. It was a secular nation that took the moral authority away from the beast. Let's read Revelation 13 and verse 12. And it says, and he causeth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And so, the dominant secular power, which was France, took away the moral authority of the papacy. Then it would be the healing of the wound, would be the dominant secular power healing the wound of the beast and giving it the moral authority. Now, I don't know how much more that beast can take. It has already healed the wound. And so, and we'll go on to prove that in a moment. But it says here that the wound must be healed, and then the image is made. And so my proposition to you is the wound is healed, but the image is not made. And so here we sit in the middle of these two events. Now, in 2019, this beast moral authority is setting the agenda on climate. It's setting the agenda on education. It's setting the agenda on money, on religion. It's setting the agenda on immigration. It's setting the agenda for religious liberty. Poverty. We could go on and on about what this power is setting agendas on. So where are we? Let's look at Revelation 13 and verse 11. It says there in Revelation 13 and verse 11, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Now, when did this occur? We're saying 1789, 1787. When did this occur? When the beast came up. Well, let's dig a little deeper. Protestant America had two powers. That's what it was. That's what it had. What signifies this two-horned beast? Secular arm, civil liberties, and a religious liberty arm. Horn, sorry. And so these are the two freedoms that Jesus recognized. We'll go on to see that in a moment. Now, in 1789, 1776, Protestant America understood who the beast was and wanted to guard against its image. That's why it created the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. They understood very clearly the beast, and they didn't want its image. And so here, Revelation 13, verse 11, it's a period of time. Yes, it comes up in 1789, but it retains these two the civil liberty and religious liberty until a time. And we've passed that time. Now, I'm going to prove this to you here, okay? It's not fitting completely on that screen. Read it up here. Samuel Adams, he writes in The Rights of Colonists of Men, in this book I have here, it says, "In regard to religion, mutual toleration in the different professions thereof is what all good and candid minds in all ages have ever practiced. The only sects which ought to be excluded from such toleration are those who teach doctrines subversive of the civil government under which they live." And who does he say? The Roman Catholics or Papists are excluded. Excluded from what? Toleration. By reason of such doctrines as these. These Protestant founding fathers understood the dangers of who is this? The beast. They understood what Revelation is talking about. The Protestant reformers understood it. But it says here, they are excluded because of their doctrines. And here's the doctrines. That princes excommunicated may be deposed. And those that they call heretics may be destroyed without mercy. If you go against what they teach, you're gotten rid of. Okay? Besides, they're recognizing the Pope in so absolute a manner in subversion of government by introducing as far as possible into the states, this word here, imperium in imperio. Now, they understood this word and they guarded against it. So it should be, we should understand what this word means, because they said once they come, they will instill this into this nation. It says, imperium and imperio, leading directly to the worst anarchy and confusion, civil discord, war, and bloodshed. So let's look up what that is. I just looked at the dictionary. It says, a government, power, or sovereignty within a government, power, or sovereignty. They understood that because of the beast doctrines that they would get in and use the state for its purposes. Everybody's heard of this. They changed the name. It's called the deep state, but nobody understands it. Who understood it? The founding fathers did. That they would come in and subvert government by instilling a state within a state. Is that what happened in 2015? Look at it. Who's there behind him? It says the Pope was, of course, invited by the most powerful Catholic in Congress, House Speaker John Boehner, who will be accompanied by Vice President Joe Biden, another Catholic. This is the beast making inroads. And what are they going to do? The image. This is what the founding fathers said, no, we can't allow them. But then they wanted to make this lamb-like beast that said, freedom for all. That included them. Now, did he know the outcome? Did God reveal the outcome? It said it would speak like a dragon. So where are we? If Revelation 13 is not necessarily 1780s, when is it? You see, in Revelation 13:11, what we have is an identity crisis. It's a lamb. And do you know what he thinks he is? A dragon. This is the identity crisis spoken of in the book of Revelation. And it comes just before the image is complete. The beast, the nation, doesn't know his identity. He forgot what the founding fathers warned against, made the Constitution to protect, the Bill of Rights. Do you see those disappearing? Let's look up what the identity crisis, the definition is. You can go look on Google. It says a period of uncertainty and confusion in which a person's sense of identity becomes insecure. He starts speaking like somebody else, dressing like somebody else. The lamb will speak like a dragon. And it's due to a change in their expected aims or role in society. Now, his role was a separation of powers. Church was separate from state. That's what his role in society was. And we are to secure this separation. Now, Jesus acknowledges these two powers in Mark 12, verse 17. We don't have to go there. We'll go there later. It says, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto God the things which are God's. In other words, the church doesn't go where it doesn't belong. And the state doesn't go where it doesn't belong. Now, does America, Protestant America, America in general, still understand the dangers of the beast? No, it's right here. They're actively creating the image. I can show you 100 slides that will prove this. 100 slides of newspaper articles and everything. But I only need to show you one image. That right there. The people will make an image. America will gather behind this moral authority, standing where it ought not. And that's what we see in that image right there. Okay? If I could sit here and tell you everything that's behind that image, it would take long, but that is right there the image of what happens in Rome. Right there. In 2015, America set up its moral authority. That's what we saw take place. Now the people have to decide. They are in a crisis. Now, why the identity crisis? It says a change in the role in society. Now, what is the role in society that the church has? Let's go to Luke 8. Luke chapter 8 and verse 1. We're going to move quickly. I'll read it. And it says, "And it came to pass afterward that he went throughout every city and village, preaching and showing the glad tidings of the kingdom of God." Now that showing, you may have a different word there. Publish or proclaim. It's not the same as preaching. He preached and he proclaimed. He preached and he published. He preached and he showed it. Okay? This was Jesus. Let's go to Mark. Mark chapter 6. Mark chapter 6 and verse 4. This was Jesus' role in society, and he says, "As God has sent me, so I send now you." What God's role, what Jesus' role on this earth, that's our role. Mark 6, verses 4 through 6. "But Jesus said unto them, A prophet is not without honor, but in his own country, and among his own kin, and in his own house. And he could there do no mighty work, save that he laid his hands upon a few sick folk and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief, and he went around about the villages teaching." This is the role of Christianity in society. Preaching, teaching, healing, and publishing. That is its role. Now those that didn't read the required reading, you can read it later. It's there in the bulletin. It'll help understand this issue. This is where the church's strength is. It's not in anything else. It's in preaching, teaching, publishing, and healing. Now, the woman, the church, is symbolized by a woman. The beast is a man. Okay? Every beast is a man. If you read about the fourth beast in Daniel 7, it says, he had eyes like a man and a mouth. He. And so we have this repeatedly, the beast. Is it a man? And the woman is the church. And so the role of the state, we can go to the Declaration of Independence, can't we? Let's see that. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Look what they say next. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted. That is their role, is to secure the rights of man. Now, do you see a problem here? This side of heaven? Everybody is free to pursue happiness. Your happiness is not my happiness. And the moral authority, that's God's happiness. Okay? The Bible. So, eventually, the immoral, do the immoral have as much freedom as the moral people? Yes. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But the immoral would eventually outnumber the moral people. The moral would say, these people without morals are the problems of society. Is that what we're saying? Do you hear that? On the news, and it's the morals in society. It's those people. Problem. What do they need? They need morals. Let's go and read what A.T. Jones. A.T. Jones, he stood up before Congress when they were going to pass a national Sunday law. He stood up before Congress and he, by the power of God, persuaded the Congress to hold back. He helped them to understand this is not our role in society. That was in 1888 when politicians were a little more reasonable. But now, I don't know if he could do it. I don't think anybody can. You know why? Because prophecy said that it would speak like a dragon. It has an identity crisis. It doesn't know this. Look at this, what he says here. To hate, and he uses 1 John, whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer. To hate is murder. To covet is idolatry. To think impurely of a woman is adultery. These are all equally immoral and violations of the moral law. But no civil government seeks to punish them. A man may hate his neighbor all his life. He may covet everything on earth. He may think impurely of every woman that he sees. But so long as these things are confined to his thought, the civil power cannot touch him. It does not attempt to punish him. This demonstrates again that with morality or immorality, the state can have nothing to do. I recommend you get this book and read it. If you want, that's the title there. He understood this heavenly principle, these lamb-like principles, that morality is a choice ordained by God. Did he give the devil a choice? He did. Civil government can do nothing on morality unless it passes or unless it creates an image to the beast. Let's keep reading. But let us carry this further. Only let that man's hatred lead him to attempt an injury to his neighbor, and the state will punish him. Let his impure thought lead him to attempt violence to any woman, and the state will punish him. Yet bear in mind that even then the state does not punish him for his immorality, but for his incivility. The immorality lies where? In the heart, and can be measured by God only. Do you understand the difference here? Do we understand? Does America understand the difference? Being deceived. The state punishes no man because he is immoral. If it did, it would have to punish as a murderer the man who hates another. Because according to the true standard of morality, hatred is murder. Therefore, it is clear that, in fact, the state punishes no man because he is immoral, but because he is uncivil. This distinction is shown in the very term by which is designated state or national government. It is called civil government. No person ever thinks of calling it moral government. And so morality is a hard issue. So Satan's deception to make this image is to blur the line between civil matters and moral issues. This is how this deception is coming across. Blur these two issues together. Intertwine them. Make it seem that every civil matter is a moral issue. And every moral issue is a civil matter. And sometimes it's hard to know the difference. It's designed to be that way. It's designed to be confusion on every level. That is what the word Babylon means. The state wants the power of the church to govern and teach morality. That's its goal. And the church wants the power of the state to wield the sword. So in other words, the man wants to be the woman, and the woman wants to be a man. Now, I had no intention of making that funny, but what we see today in society is a result of something that's happening spiritually, principally. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, against rulers of this dark world. And this is what's going on behind the scenes, and it's spilling over into the flesh, where people don't know if they're this or that. There's an identity crisis, not physically only, but spiritually, principally, here in this nation. The church wants to have the power of the state. The state has no right deciding moral issues. That's not its role. That never was his role. Did the founding fathers understand this? Now here's where this comes to us. Matthew 24. Matthew 24, and we'll read verse 4. Speaking of the end times, the events of the end, the first thing Jesus says to the disciples, his church, he says, "Take heed that no man deceive you." I don't know how you viewed these issues. I'm here to show you that America is in an identity crisis. And I'm here to show you that the devil is confusing these issues on every single level. When you turn on the TV, this is what it's designed. Because Revelation 13 says they were deceived to make an image to the beast. But here's where it comes to us. He's not talking to the world or those that don't know the truth. Who is he talking to? He's talking to the church, this church right here. It says, "Take heed that no man deceive us." You, me. We want a moral society, don't we? But what are the means that we are using and supporting? Let's go to Daniel 2. Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2 and verse 41. We're going to begin there in verse 41. Now, verse 41 is focusing on the feet. That's the end of time. That's where we sit. In the feet. Part of potter's clay and part of iron. The iron being the remnants that were from the legs. The iron of Rome. The state. And here there's a mixture of church with the state. And it says that the seed of men will try and mingle these components. But what does God say? They shall not cleave one to another. What God separates, no man can join up together. And what God joins together, let no man put asunder. It says there in verse 41, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be" what? Divided. It shall be this way. And if you think it should be any other way, then you're deceived. You're contributing to the dragon speaking. For the dragon is behind the rebellion against God's word. When it says, "It shall be divided." Let's keep reading. "But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. Now this says that the church that mingles with the iron has the strength of the iron. That is the sword. It can use the sword. It wants to use the sword. It's done it for 1,260 years. It's about to take it again. But look at what that leaves the church in this state. Let's keep reading. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Verse 42. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong. Who's that part? The iron, right? And partly brittle or broken. It's weak. Why? Because that's a church. You understand that. That clay is the church. It's weak because it's relying upon the strength of who? The iron, the state, man. It's a weak church. A strong church will rely upon God. The devil is a mastermind of deception. And he will use reforms that America needs to create the image. Go read that right up in the bulletin. So what do we see right now? Climate change. It's now a moral issue. Do we hear that? Finance, corruption. What does it need to be? A moral issue. Immigration. It's not a civil issue anymore. What is it? A moral issue. Not to mention other moral issues like gay marriage and abortion. They even blend the line more and more. And saying that climate, immigration, and all these things are a moral issue motivates people to demand civil action. But morality was never the driving force behind laws in America. What were they? What's the driving force behind the laws in this republic? What is it? Constitution, the Bill of Rights. These were the driving force behind laws in this nation, not morality. Or passing laws, I should say. Now, don't look at me strange, because we made the distinction between morality and civility. Okay? Because the laws should govern civility. Morality was, let's keep going here. If you read that right up in the bulletin, it's the longer paragraph of this quote. Okay? We're going to read only the last sentence. It says, the leaders of the Sunday movement may advocate reforms which the people need, principles which are in harmony with the Bible. Yet, while there is with these a requirement which is contrary to God's laws, His servants cannot unite with them. What was our mission? To preach, teach, heal, and publish. We should not be deceived on this issue. Jesus Christ's mission was very plain. And as He was sent, that's how He sends us. No moral fight using legislation is a safe current to ride on. Some of us are riding on these currents, pushing these moral issues to be passed by laws. But every wave, you know what it does? It crashes. And it's going to crash on the mark of the beast. Any step toward moral legislation is a misstep. And let's look at this in principle, because the commandment says, thou shalt not kill. Now, if that's over there at the end of the place there is killing, then should I see how close I can get to the edge? I want to stay as far away from it. This is why he says to hate your brother is to kill, is murder. And so I'm not even supposed to get on that path. There it is in principle that any step towards an image is a misstep. This is the ultimate goal. This is the logical result of forced morality. Moral laws. To no assembly or organization of men does there belong any right whatever to punish immorality. The Inquisition is the inevitable logic of any claim. That's serious. To punish immorality, because to punish immorality, it is necessary in some way to get at the thoughts and intents of the heart. The papacy asserting the right to compel men to be moral and to punish them for immorality had the cruel courage to carry the evil principle to its logical consequence. What's the logical, the Inquisition and the mark of the beast? No buy, no sell. That would be torture. But we read in Daniel 12 that his people shall be delivered. Let's turn to Mark 12 now. You know what we see here in Revelation 14, the third angel's message, is an intervention. It's an intervention injected into society and says, get out of this identity crisis. But as a nation, it's not going to work. It's got to happen one by one. We got to understand our role in society. And the nation has to government has to understand its role in society. And so this third angel's message is an intervention. Man, you're a man. Woman, you're a woman. You know that's illegal now? Illegal to have an intervention for your children that say they want to be another sex. Will this message be illegal? This intervention? I showed it to you over there. Same issue. What happens in this outside is what's happening inside. Mark 12 and verse 17. Let's read this. Here's the principle out of Jesus' words. And if you use it any other way, then let's read verse 13 first. Because if you use his words in any other way, you're doing what the Pharisees did. Verse 13, and they send unto him certain of the Pharisees and of the Herodians to catch him in his words. They try to use his words and twist them. But let's read his words as they stand. Verse 17. And Jesus answering said unto them, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's. The things that belong to him. They are his. They're his possessions. Give them to him. And to God the things that are God's. They're his. What is Caesar's? I mean, let's get to it. Let's go to Romans chapter 13. Romans chapter 13 and verse 7. This is talking about the government, the powers, the authorities. Let's read this. I forgot to read this last part. In carrying out the principle, it was found to be essential to get at the secrets of men's hearts. And it was found that the diligent application of torture would wring from men in many cases a full confession of the most cruel counsels of their hearts. Hence, the Inquisition was established as the means best adapted to secure the desired end. What is that the role in society of government? It leads to that. Romans 13 tells us in verse 7, render therefore to all their dues, the government, tribute to whom tribute. What is that? Taxes. Pay the taxes. Custom to whom custom. You know, the issue that really isn't going, it's going to affect us on a level. But the Sunday law, they're going to pass as a custom. It's our custom. You know that we're to rest when they pass that? It's their custom. We have a job to do. Preach, teach, heal, and publish. Can we do that on that day? Yeah, if they say we can't, that's what they're doing. Custom to whom custom. Fear to whom fear. Verse 3 and 4 tells us in the context that he wields the sword. That's the civil laws, okay? Fear the civil laws. Go the speed limit. Get your driver's license. You know, when they're going to pass this national ID, 2021. What is it called? The real ID. You know, there's a whole segment of Christianity that says that's the mark of the beast. Get the real ID. Don't put yourself where you can't buy or sell for no reason. Now, please don't take that out of context. It's up to your choice to get it or not. Goodness. Here in verse 7, it says, honor to whom honor? The president? Do we honor that position? The flag? This is what the Bible's telling us. Let's go to Revelation 13, verse 14. Let's go back there. Revelation 13 and verse 14. It says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth, by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. This deception is going to capture the whole earth. Moral or civil? Which is it? Here's two principles to remember so the issues of today do not deceive us. One is know your role in society. We looked at those very briefly. Preach, teach, heal, and publish. And in our civil job, that's still our job. Preach, teach, heal, and publish. Let's go to Mark 12 again. The second principle, so that we're not deceived on these issues that are coming up. Every time you turn on the TV, a civil issue is being termed, it's a moral issue. So that you take action and you pass a moral law. Number two is stop. Let's read it. Mark 12 and verse 30. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. Now, how much is going to be left over for anything else? It says all. That means zero should be left over for any other issue. Now, I could pick on a lot of things. Sports and what have you. But you know, that sword, it says it's a double-edged sword. This sword here. It's a double-edged sword. And we think of the Roman sword that had two edges on that hand with a handle. That's not the way it was. When it says double-edged sword, it means it's one solid blade. And that when I grab that sword, it cuts me just as much as it cuts you and anybody else. That's why it comes out of the mouth. In Revelation 19, it comes out of his mouth. And so, we got to use that sword gently. But how much time are we spending on these things? I don't know, it's pretty clear there. All thy heart, all thy soul, all thy mind, and all thy strength. There should be nothing left over. But this whole election cycle, how long do we have ahead of us? A year, we could say. How much time are we going to spend using what's God's on who will be the next Caesar? Let's give Jesus what is his. All this. What did he purchase it with? His own precious blood. You know this third angel's message that we just studied. The beast, that's only a short piece. But against the beast and its image and its mark, it's no longer future. It's no longer future. This thing is here right now. And it's time that we wake up and give God everything. Time is almost finished.